Welcome. I'm your host, Stefano, and this is When Leaders Talk, a podcast about leadership and, most importantly, about leaders. One of the words that you might have heard in this podcast, in others, or in the leadership environment very often is inclusivity and diversity. Inclusivity is really understanding the value of diversity, of people coming from different generations, from different countries, different genders, and they are able to bring a different perspective to your job, your work, and have different ideas. And basically is really enriching to its essence. I've been talking about this with Francesca Polti. Francesca is the CEO and president of Polti Group. That is, in Italy, is pretty much the synonymous of steam ironings, and it's such a successful company that it's really hard to meet people that don't know about the Polti Group. We talk about trust. Francesca is very keen and focused on building trust within her company. Trust, and it comes also with dealing with mistakes without judging, without shaming, trying just to understand what was behind the mistake, not to make a person feel guilty, but to learn from it. And the other thing they will learn is family, the value of family. Francesca is the second generation leading this family, and we actually talk a lot on how the transition from her father and mother went smoothly. What were the elements that allowed this passage to being accomplished without many traumas that sometimes you can see? And that's because it doesn't happen very often, actually, quite the contrary. You might have the first generation, the founders, that they are very attached to their idea and they have difficulty letting their children, now they're adults, of course, leading the company. What you need, Francesca suggests, is a preparation. You need to study. It doesn't mean also having the right degree, but also preparing the transition, being strategic, right? So you need to have a vision, and you need to have the tools that will put in place actually what your vision is. But also you need to have your leadership skills well trained. Basically, it means you have invested in your leadership development, and that's where, for example, coaching comes in. And there is much more to unpack in this episode with Francesca. Is a great guest. Before I leave you to Francesca, of course, let me remind you that you can follow me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram, and on Thread. But also, if you are interested on my blog articles or the coaching experience that you can have with me, you can visit masteryourseed.com. And that having been said, I leave the floor to Francesca Polti. Welcome, Francesca. I'm so happy to have you here.
Hello, ciao.
So Francesca is, oh my God, is a special guest. She's a special guest because she's the CEO of one of the most successful companies in Italy. And well, if you're Italian, but I guess even abroad, Polti means steam vapors, pretty much. Is a synonym, and you know them. You hear Polti and you know what you're talking about, right? It's the same thing as Nutella and chocolate cream, right? So you think chocolate cream, you think Nutella. You think steam ironing, you think Polti. That's pretty much in Italy, right? So I'm very happy, and as I told you off records, I'm so worried and focused on this interview. I'm just kidding, but it's gonna be fun. I'm sure it's gonna be fun. Okay, so Francesca, and to break the ice, my usual question is, what is your definition of leadership, if you have any, and if you want to share with us?
So first of all, thank you, Stefano, for inviting me. I'm also very nervous, but exciting too. Um, Thank you for this question. It's a very important question, and I see you always ask this question. So I asked my colleagues, I asked people working with me, and saying, if you have to give a definition of my leadership, what would you say? And they said that I am inclusive, that my leadership is an inclusive leadership. They say that I listen people, that I care about their opinion, that I create a bias-free environment, that I create, how do you say, heterogeneous group, that I value the diversity. So my answer is that for me, leadership, it is the one I actually act in my company. That is this, let's call it inclusive leadership. Because I do think that if you have a diverse environment, you create much more value. You give the people the opportunity to give you back their special thought. You create an environment that is, yes, it must be rigorous with rules, not rigid, rigorous. The difference is very important. But with this frame, within this frame, you let them be creative and flexible so they can really give value to the company. I think this is a key of leadership, but a key in general of a company, because it's the way now we a lot talk about, we hear about great resignation, quiet quitting. So you do need the people that stay with you, not because you only pay the right payroll, because obviously this is for granted. Not
It's part of it, right? It's
part of
part
it.
of it, of
No,
course.
it must be granted, let's say, no, but also because they are committed to the company. They feel part of the company. We are in. I think we are now in a period where you don't go. You choose your job, really, with much more care. Now you need to have all the components working. Otherwise, you're not satisfied, and then your life doesn't. You don't like your life, and then you don't like your job, and then you don't create value for yourself, for the others, and for the company.
I relate a lot with what you're saying right now. I know, especially when you say that you choose your job. I know you mentioned quiet quitting, and it's funny because recently actually I wrote an article because quiet quitting is, I mean, it's not like something new. Probably always been there. Now we have a name for it. And there's such a common way of dealing with work. It's basically when you go to work, you show up and you just work because you have to work, not because you feel inspired. And inspiration is something you really need. I mean, if you don't, as you say, now people do not go to work just for working. They want to be inspired. They want to feel part of something bigger. And that's the challenge, right? For leaders like you. I mean, you are the CEO of a big company. How do you communicate your inspiration? How do you spread? How do you allow people to be inspired by you? What's the magic element that you use? I mean,
I don't know if there is some magic, even if I'm very fond of Harry Potter, but I wish I could use some. But I think it's a mix of things. First of all, I choose my, let's say, management, what we call a force line, no? Management team very carefully. I need to share with them the same value, what we call it principle of Polti leadership. Then we can maybe talk about it.
sure.
And I need to share with them and be sure they agree with me and we are on the same page, because obviously they will be myself with their group, because I cannot talk with everybody, even if I do talk and listen with a lot of people. And then secondly, what you really need to ensure that what you say, and this is trust, one of the first value, what you say, you do what you say. If you say you do something, then you'll do it. And that means, for instance, where I do every quarter, I do an assembly, plenaria in Italian, no? An assembly with everybody in two moments, because we don't have such a huge place, because we are around 200 people here in Italy. And every quarter, I explain them what were our objective, where we are, what will be the new forecast, the new results, which activity we are doing, which projects are following up. I give them really visibility of what's happening to gain credibility in what I say, and to give them trust, because I need them to arrive there, but also for them to trust me, that what I say I'm going to do, I will do it. And this is the best way to first of all create let's say a moment where they can also express themselves, express their needs, express also their stomach ache, we say, in Italian, express like something is not going on very well.
Well, it's listening to their guts, right?
Exactly, that's what I would say in English. And it's really a matter of communication and of transparency. This is the first point. And the second point, I think it's very important, is to accept the errors, to accept mistakes. So how do you, the quiet quitting typically is very strong in the environment where the mistakes are not accepted. So what if I say what I think, if I say my idea, what if it's wrong? What if doesn't work? What if then they judge me? What if it's stupid and they laugh at me? So I think really, really what I created, they know I am very fond of Montessori, who is much known abroad than Italian, unfortunately. Great woman. And she was calling Mr. Errore, she was calling Mr. Mistake the error, because it's so important to make mistake and to learn from the mistake, and then to adjust, and then to value your mistake, like scientific method. She was a science. And obviously, the risk is that then you engineer the error, and we don't want that. We don't want that. We need to have a good process, a good frame, as I was saying. But
what do you? Can I stop you 1 second to better understand what you just said? What do you mean by engineering the error?
It means that when you always make the same errors, the errors become part of your process.
Okay.
So this happened in my factory, for instance. For a long period, I didn't even realize. And then when I started the lean manufacturing with Kaizen method, we saw it so clearly that we were repeating over and over the errors. So we engineer the error.
Oh, gotcha.
And when you know what I mean. So you make it part of the system. Sometimes also because then you feel important, because you know how to solve it. So it's really a tricky one, this one.
And then you don't see it, because first of all, you're biased, right? I mean, it's hard to see it. And second, sometimes it's hard to see it because it would mean to get out of our comfort zone. And so we create our defense that is, we always have done this.
Exactly, this is typical, typical.
We always have done it. Why should we change, right?
Exactly. But then this is very close to the quiet quitting, because then you in your comfort zone, then you stay there, you show up, and you don't do it. So the real changes that I was doing, and I'm doing right now, is to accept the error, to value it, and not judge it, to understand why it happened. In Kaizen, there are the 5 whys. You need to answer 5 times why, and then to modify your attitude, your process, whatever we are talking about, and improve yourself. So I think this second point about the error, I think is very important for the quiet quitting things that we were saying. And then I have a third element, which seems really fake because it's so heard, but it's so true in our company. My company is it's a family business. And it doesn't mean we are all cousins and sisters and brothers, because it's just me and my brother is in the board, but I'm just the second generation. So I don't have a huge problem of uncles and cousins and nephews. No, this is not the case. It means that there is really a listening environment. And so as all the family, we do help each other. And when where my colleague doesn't arrive, the other one arrives. And this is very good. In next year, we will sponsor a cycling team of Basso and Contador, that are two famous ex-cyclists. And Basso, Ivan, came to the company just a couple of days ago, and he explained this, that he saw in our company, and this is so typical in the cycling team, because one person will win. One person will put the maglia rosa, no, the pink shirt,
or the yellow shirt if you are in the Tour de France.
Or the yellow shirt if you are in the Tour, or the red one now in
yellow
the
jersey. Yes.
And just one. However, if you don't have the team, you will never win it, because you do need all their role, and you need to value each position and each role, to listen each of them. And when someone doesn't arrive, the other one will do the job. So I think these things, we do have it in our DNA. So it's really, really part of the Polti company. And everybody says when he arrives. So maybe there is no magic, but there is for sure this kind of spirit.
No, you're right. And I like, as you say, there's no at the end of the day, it's not magic. It's not something impossible. You don't need to be Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter too, by the way. You don't need to be Harry Potter or any wizard or whatever, but or sorcerer. But you just need to understand the few elements. And I love what you say about trust. Trust is the fundamental piece in every type of relationship, not just in leadership, any human relationship. Even now, in our short conversation, we start building a layer of trust, and you trust me as a host, and I trust your great experience as a guest. And I'm sure actually that your experience will be inspiring for others to lead better. And trust, and to build trust, there is I don't know if you have the opportunity to read this book from Maxwell. It's the 21 Fundamental Laws of Leadership, and trust, of course, is one of those. The law of trust, and you build trust being authentic, being with integrity, as you mentioned.
This is another value.
Right. Yeah, of course.
But because you build trust only if you tell the truth, and telling the truth is not granted. And you in not healthy environment, you normally try not to say the truth, because you think, oh, then you need to calculate. So if I say so, the other one do so, and then that. So you do all this stuff, and this happens a lot in the multinational company, big ones. I've heard from the people coming from them. While in our company, you really are naked. They told me this when they arrived. Say, in your company, you cannot be fake, because everybody's so real. So for me, it was a very big compliment, because I think trust is based on telling the truth, doing what you say you will do. So if I'm a leader and I tell you that I give you feedback by the end of the month, I need to do it. I must do it. Otherwise, I lose my credibility, and you will not trust me from one side. And the other side of the trust is I need to give trust to people. Like with the kids, it's the same. If I don't trust my colleague, my employees, how can they grow in their business-wise, professionally? How can they grow? I need to believe in them. I need to give faith. Do you say that? You give faith. I need to really think they can do it, and let them try. Let them make the mistake of something. Be there and say, no, I would prefer give feedback, through feedback, not judging, but giving evaluation, not judging.
Right. And you know what the funny what's funny about truth and trust? The truth encourages truth. Trust encourages trust. If you give trust, people will pay you back with the same trust. If you tell them the truth, they will always tell you the truth. If you hide from them, they will hide from you, right? If you for some reason, for any reason in the world, I'm sure there are good reasons to, but at some point you don't tell them something and they find out, well, they will start considering hiding something from you. It's like, especially leaders, strong leaders, they have, it's like having a bag of coins, right? So, and the moment you lose trust and you keep losing trust, at some point your pocket will be empty and no one will trust you anymore.
Very true. And obviously, you need to. It doesn't mean everything I do I tell everybody, because
No.
potentially there is projects, but at the right moment, in the right way, you don't need to hide. You need to be transparent. Also, in the fact to say, I am a very good project. It's a secret one, but
Right.
I'm telling you,
Right.
this is. I can't say it because I need to protect. I sign an NDA, whatever it is, but I do have something. So I want to tell you, because at a certain point, you will discover I'm not hiding from you. It's just the way the project needs to go. So I totally agree with you.
And then you talk about mistakes. And I want to challenge you a little bit here. So,
Ready.
what is? I will ask for the biggest mistake, but I'm okay with any mistake that you have done. Not necessarily now as a CEO of Polti, but even you actually had experiences in other companies. But a big mistake you've done, and how did you deal with it?
That's a good question. No, you know why? Because I don't think I did a huge mistake. In the sense, there is not something that I'm saying to you, that was the worst mistake I've done. I do mistake every day, every single day. So for me, it's part of my being. I cannot say, oh, that one was obviously with the if and the whens. I can tell you, that product was wrong. I shouldn't have launched it, or that market, the distributor, I didn't have to trust this person because I wasn't experienced enough to do it. So, but those, yes, it's part of the choices I made, and I learn how to do it. I learn how to understand if there is a real trust or it's just, a fake one. I understood a lot of stuff in my 35 years or working years, but really it's difficult for me to find one. But just because I do many, and I make many mistakes, and I think this is it was very good for me. It was very good for me because I did learn a method. I learned how to talk. I learned confidence. And for a woman in a very male environment, it's not so easy to be confident. Above all, during the very tough period that we went through with the company in 2012. So. I don't want to be presumption, but I cannot find one, only one. I have many, so I will stay here and tell you a lot. But again, there are mistakes in procedures, in products, in choosing the wrong person. But then, for instance, I choose a person that I thought was very competent and very good, but then I discovered was homophobic and really was the worst. So it was a mistake, yes. But I couldn't really know, and then I didn't went through the notice. How do you call it? The trial period. So it was out. But and as this one, I can tell you so many, and I'm not regretting them. Neither, not even one. So there is no mistake that I did, and then I say, oh, I shouldn't have done this one, because I think I'm now the person I am, which I'm proud of, and it was very difficult for me to say I'm proud of myself. But now I can finally say it. 46 years to do it, and I think I'm the woman I am because of the mistakes I made. So I don't know if I answer you.
No, it's okay. No, yeah, of course. I mean, and that's okay. And even when you were talking about the guy that you selected, it was not the right fit. You were still on a trial. That's why there are trials, because
Exactly.
you wanna test. it's not just test the person you're hiring, but also testing you with a person, right? Because you want to, as you said earlier, when you choose people, especially the C-suite, right? You want to work with people you can work with,
the value.
right? So they are aligned with your values, they are aligned with the vision of the company, they are aligned with whatever is important for you, you as a CEO of the company, you as a company itself, because at the end of the day, it's your company. And well, let me touch upon the third point that you talk about, is the family business, right? And this is a very I would like to say sensitive topic. Italy is a country where many companies are family run, right? And many companies also have difficulties of scaling up. And that's because it's hard to detach from jumping from one generation to another, especially if, for example, your father is the founder of Polti with your mother. They launched this company years ago, and now you are leading the company. So there are a couple of questions that I actually want to ask. How can you ensure that this transition is smooth, right? And what do you think is the main problem in Italy for those, especially small and medium business, that they have difficulties in transitioning? And I ask you this question because I know you're also the vice president for the Industrial Confederation in Como. So you know a lot of those companies. I'm sure you share a lot with those. So I'm pretty curious because I think it's a very huge topic. I'm saying Italy, but not only in Italy, even here in the United States.
Yes, it is. I think it is huge. It is huge because I think it's the main industry is the family business in Italy. I think now I had the number in my head, but I forgot. I think more than 70%, I guess.
Yeah,
but,
yes,
not sure. So why is it difficult? Because I think because we don't study enough about it. I mean, there are so many courses at the university. Right now, I've participated to a book that the Luke, the university here in Varese, did about this topic because it's so studied. Just because I think we do need it. We need to create value also in the in the generational passage, if you want to call it, because it's where you can really collect all the experience of the past of your father, your uncle, or whoever it is, and mix it with the energy and the creativity and the novelties of new generation. So all the studies I saw in Bocconi that helped us also in the ESG model that we are building in the company. And one of it, the G, is the governance, where they also show us a lot of numbers and studies about it. And the studies prove that the family business, if there is a board of director, if there are roles, very clear role. So you don't create the role because arrive the daughter or the son or the nephew. The daughter want to arrive, or the son or the nephew wants to work in the company. You do a I don't know how to call it, some legal documents that you can have in your company where say, okay, if you come, I'll do an interview. A separate person will do an interview to you as the other one. You need to have the competencies to arrive and do this job. So because it's not even, because it's true, it's difficult, but sometimes it's difficult also because the second generation, the third, is not capable. And so
can I ask you a question very quickly?
Yep.
So that means that you could be fired, but the board of directors of Polti, right?
Not because we didn't do the legal.
Oh, okay.
No, it's true. We didn't do it. So right now, we already done everything. But and I'm the president and CEO of the company. However, for the future, with my brothers and my parents, we want to have all this because we have 6 children, the 3 of us. So if one day they want to work to the company, we think they must deserve it because it's important they have the competencies to be there. Can you believe that still in Italy there are companies, there is written in the statute of the company that women cannot be in the board, that women cannot be the CEO?
I am surprised.
Many,
I mean,
many
knowing my
companies.
country a
You're
little
surprised?
bit, knowing my
Are you
country a
sure?
little
Where do
bit.
you live?
No,
I wasn't so surprised.
I'm surprised because with the globalization and everything, there is more access. So this should be a topic almost forbidden. This should be forbidden by law, or almost. So, but
Yeah, but you can. It's all the, let's say, statute,
yeah,
legal
yes.
agreement. I don't know how to call them in English, but it's that they stipulate this. Maybe all one that and I've met someone where some companies where the son is president and with 0 competencies and is bringing the company down, and the daughter is the CEO of another company and is fantastic. So I'm not saying this because the daughter because female are better, not at all. I'm just saying this that the opportunity should be given to everybody, but should be valued by other, driven by other, by meritocracy, by whatever you choose, but must be done with some criteria. So I think this is an important point, because when the moment arrives, from one side there is the funder that doesn't want to let it go, and from the other side there is the new person that maybe is not competent enough. So the other point that I think it's crucial and necessary, that you need a third party to help. A third party to help that could be an advisor, must be an advisor, that it could be a professor, could be a fiscal advisor, whoever you have, you trust, that studied, as I said before, how and what are the rules. Because if you follow your gut, as we said before, then there are too many things that you mix up because you are the son or the daughter. And so there are other stuff that came up that are not related to the profession, not related to the job. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
I perfectly understand. I do actually. And then I was wondering, when you talk about preparation, you said, of course, if you want to take over the role of president or CEO, or you wanna basically transition from one generation to another, you need to have a preparation. So you need to have studied. And if I'm not wrong, you have an MBA, right? So you have a solid preparation, but it's not only there. There is another aspect that is fundamental, that you might be inclined or not, but you still need to lead. So there is also the part of leadership development that you need to ensure, because you might be you might have a doctorate in economics and finances. You can be the best in your class at the MBA, but at the end of the day, as you mentioned earlier, the company is made of people, and then you need to inspire people. You need to build this trust, to be truthful, and no university. I mean, some universities do, but during the MBA is not part of the really of the learning. So it's something that you need to develop at the same time, probably, or a lot of experience, or there are a lot of things that can help. So okay, so what happened in Polti instead? What did not happen? How this transition happened? It was apparently very smooth.
Now, first of all, I wanted to specify something. When I said you need to study, I meant you need to study how to do the transition.
Okay.
In the sense, I give for granted that you have the title. What I mean is you need to study how to do the transition, because as everything, sorry, it's not something that you do just tomorrow let's do it.
Of
We need
course.
to be accompanied. That's what I meant. But on the other side, what you're saying about the leadership is so true. And in fact, what I'm saying for the future, not for the past, because in the past it didn't happen this way, but for the future, for the next generation, I do think in the criteria that we will choose, there will be also the leadership one, because I think it's very important that you do have the hard skills, but you must have the soft skills.
Absolutely.
And also a career. You don't arrive and just be the president. You probably need to have a career inside of the company, outside of the company. We need to fix the rules. We haven't yet, but we will do it next year. We have time because the kids are not yet the right age, but still we want to do it now that we all agree that we are all
in sympathy, in harmony. Otherwise,
Well, you said how did it happen? So for me, in my specific case, there was two moments. One was when my dad retired. My dad is 10 years older than my mom, so they have a different ages, and he retired in 2012, 2013. And the reason why is because we couldn't really work together. We have the same passionate way to work. We have a different. Mine is more bottom up. His is more top down way of leading. So it was very difficult. And also before in 2010, 11, we had open discussion. And for me, it was like, I'm ready to go in another company and do something else if you want to keep going, because I can't do it like that. It's going to ruin the company and the family, because it was very stressful. Because he was saying something, I was saying something else. People didn't know what to do. He's really strong in his leadership, even if he's an old one. He's so strong. People really some employees are working with us since 1980, 1982. So at very beginning. So they kind of see him like the founder, and so it was very difficult because I arrived with my new ideas, my new process, and they say, no, we're always done like that. Mr. Polti wants us to do like that. So they changed.
We have always done like that.
The typical sentence. So it was very difficult, very difficult. And my dad did something really, I think, courageous and rare. So he said, no, I step back. You do it. So, and he was coming, he still comes, he was coming and he's giving advice. I was asking him, we were working together. My mom kept in the company. So, and she was the president. And so it was not a hard stop. But still, it was very good because it gave an important signal also inside the company. You know, it gave me the mandate and said, "Now you go on, you do it." And so I was lucky. I think I was lucky because I don't think this is happening a lot. I see a lot of founders that are still there, 90 years old, 85 years old. So it's okay, but I think it makes it very difficult for the younger generation to be fully independent, but also to express fully themselves and their potential. Because at 50, you're not so young anymore. So, and you're there, you should be in your best, no? The young is the one of 30 that should start. As you see if you see in US, all of the new manager or the new founder starts at 25, at 30. So, so it's a completely different approach. And then
there's a culture of startups and things. Yes,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And the second step was when my mom, when we did the board of directors last year in July, and so then my mom, that was president, she went out of the board. So she was unique president actually, and we did a board, me, my brother, and an external person. And I think this was then the other step. Again, my mom she didn't disappear. She's there. She's helping. There is still an handover ongoing. She's president of other company, Polti France, other company. So she's still very young and she's helping, and she's very good. And I'm learning a lot. But again, we thought it was the moment where she had other stuff to do, also personal, and I wanted to take the lead. And she said, "Okay, why don't we do it this way?" And this was very helpful. The Bocconi, let's say, workshop was very helpful. Again, you need to study, you need to learn, you need to see what is in the market, So, and they explain to us what the other does, and so we follow their advices.
I want to rephrase what you mean by you need to study. I think I mean, and of course you're right. You need to study because you need to be strategic. You need to have a vision that is not just tomorrow. It's okay, 5 years from now, what we want to achieve, of course. And I'm surprised in the way your father step back, and say, okay, that's my time is done, and now it's your time, Francesca, to run the company. And it's I think it's a very rare event. You're right, because I've been talking to people, and they really told me how working with the parents is difficult because they have ideas, they have initiative, but on the other side, the founders, that are always very proud. Of course, they are rightfully proud of what they've done. Most of them, they think that what they've done is the best thing. They cannot improve. It's hard to improve the best thing ever, right? Their idea is perfect. There is no need to move on.
I think there is another element, the fact that the new idea maybe is good and it comes from your son and your daughter. Because if it was a third party telling me, I don't think it's the same. But if it's your son and daughter, so is it really possible that those can be better? And so I think our generation, I have a completely different approach with my daughter and my son. If they do something better than they speak better English, they know better in other stuff. It's different. I'm really so proud of them and saying, okay, let them go. Let's see what they do. I think that our generation, our parents' generation was different. No, so it's not so easy. I understand it's not so easy for them to accept that someone can have a better idea. And by the way, it could also be that the idea is not better, but it's worth a try. You need to give a try.
And let me add this. Nowadays, especially when we talk about technology and things, nowadays technology is going so fast. You need to have the open-mindedness. You need to be agile. You have an agile mind to catch up, understand how the new technologies can apply to your sector, to your industry, to your company. It takes, and of course, if you are from previous generation, you might have troubles understanding this because you don't trust. There is a. I mean, I don't want to generalize. I'm sure there are different approaches to this, but generally speaking, the average of the old person have more problem with technology than the younger generation. Yeah, and as I say, everything is changing so fast, incredibly fast. Okay, and there are a lot of things you say, and it's an amazing story. I really wonder, when your father or your mother come to you and say, "Hey, Francesca, why don't you do this?" I'm sure they do it, right? Am I wrong?
No, sorry, I didn't understand.
I'm sure they still come and tell you, "Hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that?"
Yes, for sure. I'm not saying every day, but almost. My dad, he does it a lot. He does it a lot because it's too strong. I mean, which I appreciate because the way he does it is different, in a more confidential way, in a very friendly environment. So maybe we're at home. It's different. So I appreciate because I can enjoy the passion, the past experience, but also also ask advice and explain him how it changes. It's not easy to explain him new stuff. on e-commerce and Amazon and all this stuff. It's not easy.
As we said earlier,
Yes, as
technology.
you said before, but when he gets it, then he has ideas, and he really surprised me. I say, but so why don't you do this and this? And say, oh, that's a good idea. But yes, they keep coming. And my mom is a little bit different because she's still, I mean, she just went on 1 year ago, so she knows a lot of stuff, and she's really helpful on some. So we do have meetings with her, and
But you said
very
something else that is very important because from one side you might have a person that is older, doesn't understand well technology. On the other side, you might have a younger person who is stubborn and like many kids. I'm sure that
no.
I've been like that. I know
what you
everything.
mean. I've been
I don't need your suggestion. What the hell? I know what I'm doing. And then we don't understand the role of experience, because the experience that our parents have, it's wider, bigger, and they might not keen on technology, but they know something else that we still
Exactly.
struggle to understand.
Exactly. And then maybe you can really translate what they've been through in something new in your context.
Exactly.
So it cannot be maybe the same, but still it's a click and say, okay. So I think we need also the second generation, the new generation, need to evolve and listen. At the end, if we go back to the leadership, is still the inclusive part. So the diversity, for instance, I sponsor in my company is also the age one. Not only the gender or the other, is also the age. I need to have a really new people, new young element, but also experienced one, and the mix of it is really is a bomb, as I say, it's a bomb, because you do have in a meeting, of course, you need to have rules, you need to have rigors, otherwise it's chaos. So it doesn't need to be chaos; it needs to be flexibility, which is different. But you do have creativity, because there is the person that speaks about the risks that because I'm older, so I'm saying, okay, but be careful because there is the risk, blah blah blah. And then there is the young that say the opportunities, and so you put all together and you have very good results. I think it's crucial to have both, because otherwise too young, too risky, too old, too conservative. So
I really appreciate this connection you did with diversity, and you're absolutely right. Diversity is not just women and men or people from different countries, but it's also generational. Also because the newer generations are much different from, for example, my generation. I've been growing up with the idea of working because it's important to work, and working is priority one, almost. Now it's more like, well, working is important, sure, because I need my money to live my life. But it's not only that. I want to enjoy life. I want to, so family or the well-being in general becomes more important. And what I've seen is the younger generations, they aim for a better balance between life and work. And they're very good at this. And sometimes I've seen this. I mean, I've been in the Navy for an amount of years, and I've seen this. And at the beginning, I struggled with it, because for me, it was like, what the hell? Are you already leaving? We got so many things to do. I said, yeah, but I have my aperitivo, happy hours with my friends, and then it's like,
So what do you think about it? I mean, do you appreciate, because I'm learning from them. I'm learning a lot from the youngest generation.
I
So
appreciate it.
I think they are right.
Well, the right or wrong is always, I mean, it's always a perspective, right?
Yeah.
And I will say this. So they grew up with this because the opportunities are different. I mean, when I was a kid, there were not so many bars or places where you could go, so it was different. And we were coming from a generation, the generation of my parents were the generation of, after the war, so reconstruction, sacrifice, blah blah blah. So sacrifice was something we will learn from our parents, but now has been diluted, right? So now sacrifice is not that important anymore. So you can First of all, I should say at the beginning of this conversation, find the work that you like, right?
Exactly,
It's
because
much easier.
I wanted to say something about sacrifice that I think it's very important. Sacrifice, I don't think sacrifice is not important anymore. I think they choose what they want to sacrifice, what they want to be, I don't know how to say in English, what they want to
Well, you can say in Italian.
have a sacrifice for. I don't know how to
Okay,
say,
yeah,
no?
yeah,
So, I mean, if I have the right job, if I have the right environment, if I have the right colleagues, if I have all of the elements, I will do some sacrifices because I'm committed, I enjoy, I choose it. So I don't think they don't do sacrifice. I think they do it for something they choose. And this is what I learned. When I'm saying they are right, I meant they taught me to do that. I'm trying to do it. I know I'm not so good as them because sometimes I realize I work too hard and it's not so healthy for me. And so I'm trying to learn and say, okay, let's work hard, but for the things that do matters, for the things that for me. So if I have to, okay, I joined I'm vice president, as you said, in Como, and I joined this because I really, really believe in the area they gave it to me, that is diversity, people, inclusion, as you can imagine. And I
it's
want to
not
do
just by, it's not a random choice, right?
no, and they knew me, and so they offered me that position. But it's because for me, even if it will be more work, it will be important because it gives me the opportunity to do something on something I really, really care. And so I think this difference is important. It's not true they don't do sacrifice. They do sacrifice for things they want.
Yes,
You agree?
absolutely. And you're absolutely right. But I want to add this. And actually, recently, I had a conversation, and actually, it's in Italian with a guest, and he told me something that really has been resonating in my head for days until finally I wrote a blog post on it. And he told me, well, if you want to be successful in your business, and he knows how to be successful in businesses. Actually, that's what he does. His profession. He helps business owners to scale up and be successful. You need to do what you do best and not what you like. And I was like, hold on, no. That's an interesting topic. I mean, it's not black and white. There are a lot of shades and blah blah blah. And I will talk for an hour about this. I guess we don't have time.
No,
But it resonates with what you say.
this is the very first time I hear this. And very interesting. You give me something to talk about, to think about. But let's say the best would be if what you like is what you do you do best. So that would be the greatest.
Yeah, and you're right, absolutely. And that's why you have people like in my blog post, I brought the example of people like Meryl Streep or Simon Bales, right? They are the best in the world at what they do, acting or gymnastic, because they do like what they're doing and it's easier for them. I mean, everything is relative, right? I mean, I'm sure that Simon Bales has to do a lot of training to be the best in the world, but she has a passion for it. If she had a passion for running or for swimming, she wouldn't have been as successful as she is. So it's and my what I wrote actually was that you might have passion will drive talent to a certain extent. Each of us has limits. So even if I'm passionate, I don't know, for playing the guitar, I don't have probably the right fingers that Jimi Hendrix had, right? So I will never be as good. So I will be good, but not the best. If I have talent, though, the problem, and I don't have passion, the problem is that at some point I will either get bored, or if the moment I hit a wall, like I finally, especially if you want to increase the level, it's going to be harder and harder. Well, probably I would not be so keen on sacrifice my time for that. So, it's I think it's a very.
I'm gonna read your article, your post.
Yeah, please do. Okay, Francesca, time is really running, and we have time for the last question. I'm sorry because it's such an interesting conversation. I'm so happy you accepted to be here. So the final question is, with all that we have said, coming to an end, and what is if someone comes to you and say, Francesca, I want to be the best leader in the world, or a good leader as you are, the best leader as you are. What should I do? What is the suggestion or the suggestions that you will give to this person?
It depends really also on the age, on the experience of this person. But let's say if it's really young.
Yeah, let's say it's young. Yeah.
Let's say it's young. Okay, if he, she is young, I would say to be patient and to listen and to learn, to observe, to take all critical things that they say about him as an incentive to grow and not personal. I would say really, because I think to be a leader, it's not something you can be at 25 years old. You can have an attitude, but it's very difficult because
Right.
above all in Italy, because it's difficult also that they give you the opportunity to. So it's important that you see what is the best example. And then that's exactly what I would suggest them to choose the example of a leader, of a leadership that fit with their value, with their attitude, with their way of life. So in my case, that obviously I would suggest an inclusive leadership because I think it works, because I think it has so many, as we said, so many advantages for
Benefits,
personal advantages, professional advantages for the company. But it's not, if you then go to work to some, I would say some name, but I can't. Very male.
You can. I mean,
No, I can't.
Okay.
Because a competitor.
Okay, then no.
Company where I know there is a problem, because I know there is really strong male attitude. It's difficult that you can succeed with an inclusive leadership.
Leadership
So
style.
it's important that you understand what corresponds to you, to your value, to your kind of life you want to have, kind of leader you want to be. So once you understand that, and how do you understand that? Observing, listening, learning, testing yourself, exploring, making errors. Making error always say also to my son and daughter, you try, and then if it's wrong, you improve. I mean, there is so many things you can do, no? Small errors always, no big errors, the one that you cannot go back. But
Yeah, well,
really,
you can never go back.
I would suggest this. I really that they need to if they're young, obviously, but they need to understand what are the values that they really feel theirs, and so they can then act them. Because to be and then the other thing I would say is that whatever leadership they choose, it must be true. That's the other thing I would say. In the sense, for me, it would be very difficult to be the gentle leader, the servant leader, all of those, because they don't correspond to me. Maybe part of it, but I'm more the one I told you about. I'm that one because I'm that person, and I create myself to be that person. I want to be that person and improve myself to be that person. So it would be very difficult for them to be a kind of leader that it doesn't match with their character, with their values, with their history. So those are the two things I would say. Sorry, I speak a lot.
No, it's great. No, you don't speak a lot. And I want to piggyback on what you said. Leadership, first of all, there are two things I like to highlight on what you said. First, leadership can be learned. You don't need to be a natural born leader. Someone have the right attitude and character and everything, others not, but you can still be. You can be as good. There's no limit to that. And the second thing is that, especially when you say be patient, leadership is a process, it's not an event. it's a never-ending process, right?
Very true.
I'm sure that you keep learning every day. It's not like, oh,
Every
I'm an
day.
accomplished leader and I'm done. No, you keep learning. And I've noticed when I mention a book that you were taking notes, so that means that you
Yes. I did. But it's true. It's true. You need to keep studying
Right.
and
Rome
challenge
wasn't built in
yourself.
a day,
Very
as
true.
the Americans say. We don't say in
Yes.
Italy, but apparently here is something. And with this, thank you very much, Francesca, for your experience and your passion. And I see your passion in the way you were talking, and very Italian way of talking, because your hands were moving all the way. I don't know if you listen to this podcast, trust me, Francesca has been shaking hands a lot, like not shaking, but moving hands a lot. Like
Sorry,
I
sorry.
do. It's a symptom. That's it.
But I'm very proud of it. I think it's part of us.
Yeah.
Being Italian is so useful. How do you do it without your hands? It's
You
so
convey part
meaningful.
of the message.
Yes.
It's
For me, it would be
it's really,
impossible
people
not to.
understand. First of all, it's a code. We have movements that are, you don't need words. You have the movements and
Very
you know
true.
what you're talking about. And second, it's a way to convey the message. You transmit your emotions, your passion.
And you
Whatever
create
it
the
is.
energy. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
I'm a very physical person. I touch people when I talk. I touch people when I'm very physical. This maybe is because both my parents are from south of Italy, so
oh,
I'm really. I need the contact of the people to listen to. I always go to. I don't like to home working. I always go to the office if I can. I really need to stay in the gemba, as in
yeah, yeah.
Kaizen they call it. I need to stay where the things happen. I need to stay with people. So I'm very Italian on this. Yeah, sorry about it.
It's
But
okay. There's
proud of
nothing
it.
to proud. There's
Proud of it.
nothing to be sorry. It's only to be
So
proud.
thank you for inviting me, Stefano. It was a pleasure to be here and have this very nice conversation. I learned a lot today too.
Oh, that's very good. Thank you for having been a great guest.